Hello. In this video, I'm going to talk about the new logic features that have been added to the version 2.5 client release of SMARTree. So logic has been available in SMARTree since version 1.0, but what has been added in version 2.5 is we've extended the logic conditions for more elements, and we've also made it easier for the user to apply logic and change logic. So the best way for me to demonstrate this is with some SMARTrees that have some logic conditions. So if you access the examples, the SMARTree libraries that are available on our GitLab site shown at the bottom of this video, you will have access to this data right here, and you'll see a tutorial SMARTrees folder, and inside here you'll see logic tutorials. So there are 4 in here right now, and I'm just going to pull in one, so you can just drag it in here. And you'll see here it sort of describes this tutorial in the actual tree itself. And so I'll just expand this just a little bit so you can see it better. So it says here, this tutorial is going to show you how logic is used for a text element. So we have 4 text elements right here. And you can see that the logic has been violated for all 4 of these. You'll also see the logic is on. The logic is on when the text is italic. If you click on any of these elements, you'll see that there's a little tick box here, and this tick box says apply logic to element, and the logic in this case is on. So it pretty much is self-explanatory. The first one says empty this text box to fix, because this one is a condition of empty, which means that the box, the text box, which is right here, the content, the data, needs to be empty for this condition to be valid. This is a condition you might apply to your data. Say if there was a failure in your sample or an issue and it had to be described. That would flag that element as having logic conditions that are in your tree that would be flagged as violated. So in this case, you may say, okay, let's just empty this text box out saying everything's okay. And what you'll notice now is that particular box is fixed. Now that does not fix the parent item. And the reason it doesn't fix the parent item is because there's still other child items that need to be fixed. So let's work our way down through the list. It says this text box needs content. So maybe we might need to do pass, add some content here, pass test. So now we pass the test. And you'll see now that this one is also fine. And you'll see over here, it says, this button right here says content. The third one says this text needs to contain specific text. Control click here to fix. So let's hit the control click, and that opens up this window. And this window essentially is the advanced editor for every element. And in here, you see the title, you see the data, and you see the logic. So the logic in this case, as shown here and here, it says contains. And the contains is shown here. This element needs to contain the word. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to simply add the word to the end of this, hit update, and now you'll see this logic element has been met, that the word is in your text. And this one says this text needs to be an exact match. So let's find out what this exact match is again. Once again, we can hold the control and hit click, and we'll say the word has to be an exact match. So I'm just going to copy this and put it down here and say an exact match. And then hit OK, update. And now you'll see all the conditions for all of those texts have been met. And you'll see now the parent item is also fixed. So now we've essentially fixed this tree. So if there is a problem, if there's something that's added to any one of these, the text logic will tell you, and you will know there's something wrong. The parent items are also shown as red because you may have many, many levels within your trees, and sometimes it may not be obvious if there's a problem in your data. So the nice thing is the hierarchy is always checked live as you're working, so that the parent items are kept in check on what's happening to the child elements. So if there's an issue with your tree, essentially, it will be shown at the top level of your tree. So that's an example of a text where we fix these conditions. So these are the 4 main conditions for that. So I'm just going to clear this tree right here. We can just use the clear, and I'll pull in one more example. So here we have selection and value. I'll pull in selection. So once again, very similar. The selection has 4 items, and once again, we just have to meet the logic conditions for these items. This one says match. If you click on the item, you'll see right here the match button is pre-selected right there. So it says match. Select item 2 to fix this selection. So we'll pick item 2, and you can see now that this item is fixed. This one says below. That means item 3 or below needs to be selected here. Now, how do we know that's the case? Well, if you hold the control button and click on the items again, it actually pulls up the advanced editor, and in here you will see your list and you'll see one of these items is italic, and that is item 3. And by saying below, it means everything below item 3 is valid. Or sorry, everything below item 3 is valid. So that would be item 1 or item 2. If you said everything above item 3 is valid, it would be item 4 and 5. And that is also an option here as well. So this is showing you how you apply logic. If you want to apply additional logic, you simply double-click the item, and it will specify that that is an item of interest, whether it's an item that must match, an item it must be below or above, so or even an inverse. So that's how you apply logic to the actual items itself. So this is how it's done. So I'm just going to hit cancel this. So it says item 3 or below needs to be selected. So we will select item 2, and now you can see item 2 is correct. Inverse means item 3 is the wrong answer, but any other item is correct. So item 4, item 5, anything but item 3, and that's by inverse. Finally, the last one is any item above. So if I click any item above item 3, it will fix this. So this is a way for you to apply logic to a sequence of items, and now you've seen we fixed all these items. So there's two other examples, and they're pretty self-explanatory. This one is where dates are specified, and by clicking on this again, once again, you have this option. The date can be before, it can be today, today's date when you're loading the software, a match of a specific date, or after a specific date. You can also filter it by the date itself, whether it's the hour, minute, second, or year. So maybe you just want something specified down to the day. You can also specify it down to the minute. So if it so that essentially specifies the accuracy by which you want to specify the range. So those are the options you have for dates. And finally, we have the value element. And once again, the value element is pretty straightforward. In here, you have a range. So the range, the options you have here is you can have it below the minimum value. You can have it in the range of this range right here. You can have it equal to an exact value, or you can have it above. And once again, to edit the actual value, you can specify that right here, and you can edit the condition right here as well. So you may have a specific value, you need the value to match. You can specify it here. Also, you'll see in here, in the advanced editor, you'll see the precision, what type, if it's decimal, string, engineering, and you can also specify the value here and its title. So there's a lot of options in the value conditions as well. So the nice thing about this software is that it's got a live editor in here, and you can actually fix this fairly simply by just going into the tree and meeting these conditions. So the nice thing about this is you can specify conditions throughout your data. So if the data is violating these conditions, it's very easy for you to specify that violation. And this is especially useful for when you're creating standards, when you're creating protocols, when you're creating fail and pass standards in your data. You can specify them all in the tree, and you will have good confidence that when people fill out the data, that they are when you observe the data or summarize the data or pass it on to someone else, they can quickly see if all the conditions that you've specified in your trees are met or violated. So that's basically how logic works in SMARTree, and it's been expanded to consider other elements, additional elements in this platform. If you have any questions about how logic works, there's additional videos on how the basic logic works in SMARTree, and you can download these examples from our GitLab site, which is on the link below, and you can download this software from a link below as well. So thank you for watching this video, and I hope you enjoy using SMARTree.